Oh, hello, and welcome to Aldente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey. D stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. Tonight we have Knuckle Bones. So, we're doing a little creepypasta by Kolpik on creepypasta.wiki. It was an entry for Corn Conic's Halloween 2021 story contest on the wiki. You can check Knuckle Bones out on the wiki. But before we begin, let's go into our initial recommendations. I'm going to recommend this one. Mikey, D stands for evil.
I am also going to recommend this one.
All right, gamer.
Yeah, I'll recommend it as well.
Okay. So let's find out why we gave those initial recommendations a little bit more in depth. But first, let's start with the rundown of the story. So Jack Marlin, a skeletal corpse, wakes up and pulls himself out of an unmarked grave in the woods. He doesn't know how he was resurrected, but some force compelled him that night forward, and he seems to know where his actual grave is instinctually. So with an old shovel that was left behind near the unmarked grave in hand, he begins to shuffle across town. Soon he realizes that tonight is Halloween, and thankfully no one seems to know his true nature or realize his true nature, thinking him simply costumed as the rest of them. As the night drags on, because it drags on for a while because he's a very slow shambler, he finally makes it to the town cemetery where his wife and he were buried initially. He has this strange sense of regret over the course of the night as well, but he can't fully place what is going on. Just as he starts to dig himself his grave hole again, a man comes up from behind him and takes him down before performing a ritual upon Jack. It turns out in life, Jack was a swindler and cost a lot of people money, including a magic practitioner named Hilda, who made sure that her family line would continue to torment Jack's restless spirit when it animated on Halloween night. They had been dragging his body out to that unmarked grave in the woods and having him shamble back to the cemetery only to have him relive his last moments through a ritual as a revenge plot for years. You see, Jack, in his last moments, shot himself before cops could properly apprehend him and he could give away the location of the money that he had swindled all those people. And so this time around, as he's reliving the memory, Jack decides to break the pattern of his last moments and actually try and do the right thing. But alas, it is just an illusion, just a kind of a flashback to his last moments. And so, much like every other year that has come to pass since he committed suicide, the man, now the grandson, or the great-grandson of Hilda, who is also long since dead. Hilda, not the great-grandson.
I mean, for all we know.
yeah, maybe.
She's
but
still
the
alive,
great-grandson,
he's still alive, or they're both dead as zombies. And this is a zombie war.
But potentially, but no. The great-grandson as the ritual is finished up and Jack is tormented yet again for another year, and the animation seems to kind of be wearing off on him. His body is dragged back to the grave in the woods to start the cycle over again. Before reburying the body, the man throws a ritual bag full of burned knuckle bones on Jack and buries Jack till next year. Finn. So, I suppose we shall move on to Everyone Tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions. At this point, I don't actually have anything really for Grammar Inquisition, guys. So I'm just going to pass this along to Mikey. Do you have anything for Grammar Inquisition?
I have a conjunction junction.
Ooh. And next stop, Conjunction Junction. Doot, doot.
and he couldn't recall ever seeing anything resembling a tunnel of light or even a sucking pit blacker than night. But even a single guttural grunt or growl might have inspired unwanted scrutiny. It followed along behind him, probably hoping there was still some marrow left in his bones. And right beside it was where his wife rested. Its contents crackled and hummed with the promise of dark and impossible feats. Finn.
What? What was the thing?
Yeah, we never fully got context.
Yeah, at all. It was like what is this? It's like he's dealing with some kind of like cosmic horror. Or some kind of like eldritch abomination that's like, but that's the only context we get. It's just a description that could possibly pass as like the descriptor for some kind of like abomination against like the cosmos. Nice. I mean, I do approve of that, but
Well, of course. And for those unaware, Mikey does these strings of sentences to highlight all the sentences in a story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, because there's always better words.
indeed. All right, so Gamer, you're up.
Okay, I thought I had two, and then I read it, and then I'm like, that's a note, and then I moved it down to notes, so I did that again. First one is, I guess, grammar-y, so I'll read it. Yeah, it's somewhat near the start. With empty eye sockets, he spotted the handle of a shovel partially hidden under dead and decaying leaves. He assumed whoever buried him there had accidentally left it behind, thus marking the spot where his remains had been hidden. Not bothering to consider the irony of it all, he let out a breathless sigh of relief, simply glad he didn't have to dig anymore with his hands. So, the way that this flows, when I was reading it, it kind of sounds like he is still underground, digging his way out when he finds the shovel. Like he's been digging with his hands for a while, and then he stumbles across the shovel. And then, there's a shovel. I'm glad I don't have to use my hands anymore to dig myself out of my own grave anymore, because I found a shovel underground somehow. Which is how I honestly viewed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of like there isn't like a like there is like it's if it's there, it's very subtle, but like there should be some kind of like descriptor of like the emergence a little bit more than what we get.
Yeah.
Because like what kind of confused me is actually I'm like looking at the first couple of paragraphs, I was following along with what you were saying, and the one thing that was kind of like bugging me was the where is it? I just saw it, and now of course it's gone.
Is it the next part I was going to say, which is the next line, which is digging from the wrong end of a grave was tiring work, and he still had more to do that night? Yep.
I was like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, because this whole first scene isn't exactly clear about what's going on, if he's out or not yet. Like, it says that there's a shovel under some leaves, but early on it says he had more to do, which sounds like he has to dig from the wrong side of a grave again tonight, or more tonight, because he's not done digging that.
Yeah, like maybe like he got his upper part up, and then he found the shovels. Like, sweet, I can now like start digging my legs out or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
I imagine he was like 30 feet under, and he's just in like he's slowly digging out, but has like a 6 or 7 foot high cavern or like tunnel that he's dug so far, and he has to keep going. Yeah. For some reason, he was dug way too deep.
That I don't think that's the case, but like I see where you're coming from on like the confusion, because I think it sounds like we were all confused by like exactly how he like unearthed himself.
Yeah.
Like, we know he did it. We just like the descriptions are kind of wonky about that.
Like, honestly, it took me till paragraph 3 to realize that he's outside the entire time.
Yeah.
Like around when it says like I put the shovel on my shoulder and walked into the forest. I'm like, okay, he's outside.
I guess he made it out. Yeah, I guess he's out of the grave.
Yeah. So to clean it up, a simple addition to the first line would be like, instead of it saying Jack didn't bother to brush off the dirt off of his rotten suit, period, it would be Jack didn't bother to brush the dirt off of his rotten suit after climbing out of the hole.
Yeah, that would have fixed it right there.
Or later on, when it says, beside that, digging from the wrong end of the grave was tiring work and he still had more to do that night. It could be, besides that, digging himself out of the wrong end of a grave was tiring work. But he still had more to do that night.
Yep.
And with the second part, actually, it would be, but he still had more digging to do that night. Because he did not have more of the wrong side of the grave digging, just digging in general.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. But that's about all I have for grammar things, because the other one was not grammar.
All right. I guess that's kind of a nice note on this story, is that like a lot of that we didn't have a lot to complain about for grammar wise for the story.
Yeah, like it's not spelling or anything with mine. It's just lack of context.
Yeah.
Is it context, or is it just lack of set dressing to see what's going on?
Maybe continuity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or just not clear, not making the image clear enough for the reader.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's a much more academic word for that, but I mean, we are kind of amateur writing critics.
Speak for yourself, sir.
Yes. I apologize, good sir. Bully. Anyway,
how dare you, Mr. Clarchuk, great name.
Yes, the gamers in yellow, renowned in the academic world.
Oh, I meant us as Al Dente Rigor Mortis.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. Anyway, I suppose we'll move on to actual thoughts. As I climb out of that hole, I'm going to start with this quote here. With limbs lacking connective tissue and ligaments to hold them together, he leaned down and picked up the rusty tool. Despite the absence of muscle tissue, he gripped its handle tightly and rested its long wooden shaft upon his bony shoulder. Defying more than a few natural laws, he did all of these things and then turned away, shambling through the woods towards his final destination. I love that he's an animated skeleton, because you rarely see that in stories of the animated dead. Like, it's usually just like a zombie, like a flesh zombie. But the story also seems to bring up zombie a lot. So I suppose to a degree they are kind of like, when you're talking about a zombie, it can be like a fully decomposed zombie. But I don't know, like, for me, there is a distinction between like a fleshy zombie and an animated skeleton. Like, they are not necessarily the same kind of undead. I think the story needed to like, what?
I don't know. I mean, I get you 100%.
Yeah, this is a pet peeve of mine, and I will fully admit it. But like, to me, like, I just wish like maybe the story had kind of gone a little bit more into like maybe like a descriptor of, because like from the get-go, like when he's talking about like without all the muscle ligaments and stuff like that, like he's using like skeletal, and it's like, okay, so we got an animated skeleton. But then he's walking down this, like shambling down the street, and people are noticing him and thinking he's a costume. It's like there's a limit of like how people would like notice him like walking down the street, and just like, that's a skeleton animated inside a tattered clothes, versus like, oh, that's a guy in a like who's with makeup. Like,
what they might be thinking is it's a guy wearing that black suit with like the bones on it.
Oh, okay, maybe he's got like a morph suit, and then he's got like some additional like bones and stuff like that to kind of make it look like he's just a skeleton. And like, I suppose he is walking in the middle of the road, so like the lighting is like really poor in the center of the road.
Yeah, I don't mean like he has additional bones on the morph suit. I mean the morph suit itself has like depictions of bones on it. So because of that, it's normally black as well on the outside of it. So
Yeah.
you just see the bones because it's also in the middle of the night.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the night. Like the people that are trick or treating and walking by are on a lit sidewalk, and they're seeing some guy shambling down the middle of the road. Most middles of the road are dark, like I was saying, and with the black suit, like they might imagine, oh well, he's obviously got some kind of like again a black morph suit on or something with like the pattern, the skeleton pattern on it. That's why he looks so weird and crazy and creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, haha, cool costume, bruh, as they walk by.
Yeah, but like they're not paying him not much attention.
Yeah.
If they took a second look, then they might be like, okay. Especially if they have a flashlight, which they probably would if they're at their trick or treating.
And that's also like, man, like this town is just full of. I mean, like again, it's probably a bunch of kids and teens, going door to door with like their parents. Like occasionally, I doubt anybody's actually like really paying too much attention to like the guy walking down the street.
Mm.
Like literally walking down the middle of the street. And it actually kind of plays into my next quote here. By the time he reached the opposite end of May Street, the sidewalks were vacant, and most front doors were illuminated only by moonlight. Turning left, he took to the sidewalk to avoid attracting too much attention. The next few hours crawled by at a pace matching his own sluggish stride. Other than a few blaring car horns and one inaudible slur, he walked along unnoticed and undeterred. So kind of going back to like what I was saying here, honestly, given how slow he is, like I'm surprised he didn't garner any unwanted attention, like more so than he did. Like again, he's walking down the middle of the street. Where are the cars that are driving? Like, I mean, like, is this town that sleepy that there's no cars like driving in the road like on Halloween?
Mm-hmm.
Again, maybe that is the case because like a lot of times like people like when they're in like residential areas, they tend not to drive at night on Halloween just because like there's such a lot of human traffic or like people traffic in and around like the sidewalks and roads,
or because everyone's busy giving out candy or taking their kids around.
Yeah, that
too. At a party or something.
Yeah, again, it just kind of goes back to like, and this is it might just be a pet peeve of mine. It's just like the whole like, I'm surprised that no one is questioning this walking skeleton. But I'll get off my high horse on what makes a zombie. Is it the flesh on his hand, or is his quest for brains?
Nice.
That's the second time in 2 weeks I've done that. I've used that. I've like mocked that quote.
See if next week we can also bring that in somehow.
Yeah, we're going to see. Yeah.
What makes a zombie? Is it the flesh in his hand, or is his quest for brains?
Anyway, moving on. He only had to compare them to his own hands to confirm they were broken finger bones, the knuckles being the only bits not touched by fire, made him think of popcorn for some strange reason. Knuckle bones, perhaps? Title drop, mayhaps?
A little bit.
I don't know. I just had like, yeah, as soon as it like brought it, it's like they were broken finger bones. Knuckle bones? Just a silly little thing.
Mm-hmm.
The next one here. Time to get back to being dead and buried, he thought, as he sunk the head of the shovel into the ground. He pressed it deeper with his foot and heaved out the first shovelful of dirt. As he tossed it to the side, a voice broke the silence surrounding the graveyard. How exactly do you intend to pull all that dirt back when you're done? Jack spun around to discover a tall man in a plain black t-shirt and blue jeans. Not seeming the least bit shocked by the animated corpse of Jack Marlin standing before him, he exclaimed, "Ah, there's my shovel," before snatching it from Jack's hands. So, for a bit during this story, like from the get-go, like onto basically when Jack arrives at the cemetery and starts like digging his own hole to go back to rest. I thought Jack was going to be like I thought where he was going was like where his killer was to seek revenge.
Yeah.
And to a degree, I suppose that's true. Since, he killed himself.
I mean,
But like I thought the revenge plot was going to be on him, like seeking revenge for like the killer, and not like some other group or some other like faction actually like seeking revenge on Jack. So I actually kind of really liked the turnaround on the revenge plot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was intentionally meant to be like a turnaround but just like when I was reading the first part of the story, much like Jack, we really don't know what his motivations are, what's compelling him to do something. He just knows that he has to go to this spot, and then it's not until like a little bit later that it's revealed that what he was looking for, his final destination, was not a killer to be revenged upon, but his own, like his actual grave spot.
Yeah, and
And
he
then
just
we
wants
get
to lay next to his wife because she's dead now.
Yeah, he just wants to rest in peace. But then it turns out, like as we keep reading, that the revenge plot is actually on him because of what he did in life. And yeah, I honestly just really kind of dug that. Like my next, I think
Is that a pun?
no,
Because he's
I didn't
using
mean
a
that.
shovel.
Shit, you're right. I didn't mean that though. I can't take credit for that.
That's fine.
But yeah, going into my next, it kind of links to my next quote and comments here. As the sun began to peek over the horizon, he uttered the 5 words he ended every Halloween with. See you next year, Jack. I really liked this ending. Like, honestly, I really don't have much more to say on this story, other than once the mystery began to unfold with like Hilda and her grandson, like, and like the ritual and stuff like that, I couldn't stop reading.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted to know, like I was just kind of like eating my popcorn as I'm reading the story. Like I really liked the turn of events from like the cemetery to the ritual, and then like the flashbacks and kind of getting a little bit of the exposition or like the revelations. What a revelation, I suppose, is what for like the turn of events that happened in the story. Like I really like how it switched around from like I thought this was just going to be like a standard kind of Revenant story where like he's come back because of the power of Halloween to seek vengeance on his killer. Then we get this kind of turnaround where it's like, oh no, he was actually the one being tormented or like getting revenged on for good reasons. And even though like there's a moment where he tries to like change things for the better, because it's a horror story, that's ripped away from it, that chance is ripped away from him because it's just a memory. It's not actually, you can't go back on what you've done.
Mm-hmm.
And then like just the insidious but like kind of like clever like use of necromancy in the story to like, it's like, yeah, I've had my I've made sure my family line continues so that they can continue to just fuck you over every Halloween so that your soul never gets rest. Like it is, and it also like ties into like folklore and stuff for like the dead. It's like, yeah, like pulling him out of his of the grave site that he's supposed to be laid to rest in, and throwing him into an unmarked grave in the woods, that would like torment his soul or like really like harm his calm for eternity, basically, because like he's never at rest. He's constantly, that's why he has to get back up and go to his grave plot.
Mm-hmm.
And then these guys are just like, nah, fuck you. Like, where's my money, man? I want my money.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like, it's a little bit like that. It's a little bit like Stewie and Brian, just like it's like if you took that image of like Stewie trying to get his money back from Brian and like beating up on Brian, and it's like Stewie is like Hilda's great grandson or Hilda, and then Brian, it just have like an image, like take a still of that and just like put Jack Marlin, Jack Marlin's corpse. Yeah. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed the story for just the turnaround revenge plot that was playing out, and like it is well written for that. Like even the dialogue is like really engaging from like Hilda and stuff like that. So but that's my actual thoughts, honestly, on the story. So Mikey, the E stands for evil.
So my first actual thought here is from Googling Knucklebones. So the first thing that comes up is the game, also known as Scatterjacks, Snobs, Tally, Dibs, Five Stones, Jacks, or Jackstone.
Oh shit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Roll them bones.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where we got like dice like dice rolling and stuff like because dice were originally like small pieces of bone that were eventually carved into like cubes.
Mm.
I imagine they start off as like just being knuckle bones or like some or a part of, or a piece of bone that was like kind of cubish.
But it's just something to think about because I mean the picture here has a sack with jacks in it.
Picture?
So well the
Not on the story.
Google search.
I see.
No.
Gotcha.
It basically, so in the story, there is a sack with knuckle bones in it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two of them. So basically, they keep reusing or making new versions of Jacks to.
Oh, and oh my god, and his name is Jack.
Yep.
Wow, that took too long for me to get realize.
Yeah.
Also, I was gonna actually like until like the end where he like drops the bag back down onto Jack's corpse in the pit. I was wondering, it's like, man, it's like when the cops come like wake up like do their rounds like next morning to like make sure there's no like graffiti. Are they just gonna find like pieces of bone scattered across May Street, like as this guy's just shambling and falling apart? But then I guess the grandson maybe probably like cleaned that stuff up because like either he had a separate bag of knuckle bones, or it was the same one that Jack dropped when he did his walk.
Yeah, he could just be ghosting him the entire night.
I think honestly that's like because they've been doing this for years, so I imagine like they know exactly how he's going to walk, like where the route he's going to walk and stuff like that. So they're just basically like trailing him the whole time,
Yeah,
and just like
and
cleaning up
he
after
doesn't
him.
necessarily always trip and drop the bones on the ground, but he has them on him all the time. So when he knocks them out, they're on him. But if he drops them, he's there watching them, so he'll just pick them up and just follow them all the way to the end.
Yeah. Also, I guess that might also be why, like, maybe that's like, now I think about it, like, this happens every year. He's basically become a fixture on Halloween night for like those kids that are out trick or treating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, they didn't know who he was because his name was like, they called him like Mr. Bickle. Yeah, Mr. Bickle.
Yeah, Mr. Bickle.
But maybe that's just the name they call him.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe the family of Hilda has like kind of it like done kind of like a soft veil out or like a soft cover up over it. It's like, oh, it's just Mr. Bickle, just he likes to kind of do this thing every year.
Mm-hmm. He's going for his zombie walk, quote unquote.
Yeah. And maybe that's also why like it kind of subtly explains why no one is giving him gripe aside from like a honk on the horn, like a car honk. Maybe that was the dude. Just like, move, come on, I don't got all night.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but move.
Yeah. All right. So my next actual thought here is that I like that we get a story from the monster's perspective.
Yeah. Like, I wasn't even mad that it wasn't that spooky. No, that it wasn't even that spooky.
Well, that just shows how desensitized we are to walking skeletons.
Yeah, I mean, clearly. I mean,
they're so silly, right? It's
well, to be fair, like whenever I mean, I don't know about you guys, but in our neighborhood, we get that dancing skeleton whenever the start of September happens, and he's just like doing like a dance, like walking down the middle of the street with his because he's so excited for September.
Right? Happens all the time.
Yeah. It's a meme.
I didn't get it. I was rolling with it.
I'll show you the video, and also I'll link the video in the description.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my next actual thought was How does he know where he's going and how to get there?
Are you asking that, or do you have your own theory?
Well, it's one of those things that's not brought up,
Yeah.
but then it is also a thing that souls always want to reach their final resting place.
Yeah.
So he could be drawn to his final resting place.
I was wondering. I kind of just chalked it up to the necromancy that was going on. Like, I honestly kind of thought that, like, figured that it was like it's maybe like the power of Halloween, because like All Hallows Eve is like where when the veil between like the living world and the dead world are thinnest, like when the walls are thinnest, so that like souls can return to their bodies, and if like there's unfinished business, they try to finish that business. Or again, like Hilda and her kin have, like, maybe that's part of their the magics they've been tormenting Jack with, is that like that's what's compelled, like as part of the ritual, like he's kind of pre-programmed to know he's got a soul GPS. As part of the necromancy ritual.
I assume that the day of it being on Halloween is because they could cover it up. Because like all this is premeditated, you know.
Well, yeah, that again, like that is definitely a way to consider it. Though I think there should be some, like, you should put like it should be something said about like how the fact that Halloween is the way it is for a reason. Like, it is supernaturally and folklorically a time when like spirits do return, like the souls of the dead do return to Earth for one night. So like it could honestly be either on them, or they could be just kind of using this as an opportunity to get revenge on Jack. But yeah, I also agree, like, because yeah, it is that time of year when like no one's gonna blink at no one's gonna bat an eye at a dancing or walking skeleton in the middle of the road, especially at night. So
yep.
Also, in regards to his looks, he is clothed. It's rotted clothed, but he's not just a naked skeleton walking around.
No, that's true. But I mean, at the same time, like, if you see somebody like who's just has a skull, or like even like like some with some flesh on it and some of that. Again, it's dark. I get it. I'm not fighting you on it. I'm just like, I'm just bringing up like the devil's advocate of like, would he be noticed more? But we've also already kind of established that like maybe the Hilda fam have been like figuring out a way to like cover this up, or like they know that maybe they're keeping an eye on this situation too. They already seem to be like orchestrating things from behind the scenes.
Yeah, and they've been doing this for so long that to the kids he's a local legend.
Yeah. Or that weird neighbor who really likes to dress up as a zombie. That he only sees once a year.
Maybe the what's the cover name that they're giving him?
Mr. Bickle.
Yeah, maybe every Halloween Mr. Bickle gets like extremely drunk, so he never remembers what actually happened on Halloween. So people just tell him, "Well, you dressed up as a skeleton and you shambled through the streets." It's like, did I do that? I mean, okay.
Conversely, Mr. Bickle is married to one of Hilda's like great granddaughters or granddaughters. So he's in on the plot, on the ploy, and he just says that that he gets drunk on Halloween and doesn't know anything.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like what I'm saying is it's an inside job.
Yeah, sure.
It was a false flag operation. Who is Mr. Bickle?
That's into my actual thoughts.
Okay. Then I suppose we move on to Gamer.
We do.
That is how the al dente do.
So I like that the story is aware of that, like Jack's body shouldn't be able to do the things it's doing. Like it's openly commenting on the fact that even though he has no muscles, he grips the shovel and with even though he has no eyes, he looks at this and like he sighs, even though he like should be able to do that. Like it's openly commented on it.
Yeah, like he's breathlessly sighing and stuff like that. Yeah,
which covers its bases really well for remarks that idiots like us would be like, actually, how could he look if he has no eyes? You know?
Speak for yourself, senor. I'm willing to let that go. Mm-hmm. It's people like you.
No, you're right. You're right. You're right. It's cool.
Love you, fam. And
then when he's he being Jack is walking around and like his finger falls off and he drops the bones and he just leaves them there. It's kind of weird that he's not even giving 1 second to consider the significance of his bones and everything. Like, okay, his finger fell off. He's like, okay, I'm falling apart. I have to hurry. I could see that being left behind. But he has like this little bag, this little baggie in his coat of bones, which is really weird. And he just kind of swings his shovel to scatter the bones like he's hitting them.
Yeah.
And yet he doesn't know what's animating him. And he says he doesn't know. So I'm surprised that he so quickly discards something that's on him. Because if I was him, I'd be wanting to keep everything in place as much as possible. Because that might have been the thing that's actually keeping him animated.
That's true. Also, that's kind of what I was wondering too. Because like, doesn't it even say like it's glowing or like there's still embers in the bag? Like it's still warm?
I think I'm aware.
Or something like, am I fabricating a shotgun?
There's something there.
There is something there? Okay, cool. Checking. Scanning.
The knuckles being the only bits not touched by fire. Lying there on the sidewalk was a rotten piece of cloth surrounded by charred bits of bone.
Maybe that's what I was thinking of, like something like charred and stuff like that. Face plant on the sidewalk. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, like a ragged piece of cloth that like had some kind of a bundle in it. Like, yeah, like, and again, like playing devil's advocate, maybe it's like part of the spell. Like he's not like it kind of like pushes that. Like he has to roll a sand check, and if he actually passes, then he starts noticing something's weird. But if he fails the sand check, he just doesn't. He doesn't think anything's bad about it. Or actually, vice versa. If he fails the sand check, that's when he realizes that might be something that's animating him. Whereas if he passed the sand check, he just like it goes over his head, sort of thing, because his mind or his soul or mind thing tries to basically protect itself from like the weirdness.
I just kind of feel like earlier in the story, he's talking about he doesn't know why he's alive, quote unquote, and he doesn't know how he can move. And yet later on, he just discards that. Something that could be...
Yeah, you think he'd be a little bit more cautious.
Yeah. So if it wasn't said before that he was unsure of what's going on and why, then I would give it a pass. Like, I feel like he should have at least attempted to pick the stuff up.
Yeah. Like, at least, like, kind of, like, rather than, like, it is weird that he just, like, takes the shovel and scatters it when, like, shouldn't you have, like, done the opposite of that? Like, bundle it back up and put it in your pocket just in case?
Like, I'm not saying he has to keep them with him, but write in a reason why he left them. Like, maybe he reached down to get them and it's like his hand's kind of, like, shaky and not accurate because he's a freaking animated skeleton. And, like, he went to pick some up and his hand hit the ground a little bit too hard and like his thumb fell off. So he's like, oh shit, I shouldn't waste time.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's like he's running because he does feel that he's running out of time.
And he did do that earlier
as like
where
the power
his finger fell off from doing something. That wasn't the same scene, is it? Am I just saying that they should do what they've already did?
I think they might have. Hang on. I know his jawbone was lying somewhere back in the thicket.
No. Walking over the tracks brought up memories of his wife. She always crossed her fingers, and he lost his finger when he tried it that time.
Yes.
That's when his finger fell off.
There is that as well.
So this would be another escalation of it if you make more of him fall off.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Like, it is something that could definitely improve the story.
And then my next two are just a couple of words that I didn't know. So I'm learning.
Okay.
Whoa. One is chided. I've never heard the word chided before.
Okay.
Which is just to scold.
Yep.
And interred, which is placing a body in a grave.
Yep. I've watched a lot of mortuary movies, so
You have.
or a lot of horror movies with mortuaries in them. So
So it's always fun to learn new words,
It
even though
is.
I doubt I'll use them in my normal
you say that
vocabulary.
now.
You never know. Yeah,
I don't know. You chide me all the time, man.
I do. Yeah, it's my favorite thing to do. I'm the chider in yellow. Anyways, the next one is when he's in the flashback / dream that he's having about how he's gonna kill himself, and what's her name?
Hilda.
Hilda. Yeah, Hilda's like saying, "Oh, you can just not do it and open the door and all that, and that would make everything better." So after that, it says, discovering courage he didn't know he had in himself. He stood up and walked towards his desk. He dropped the revolver at his feet, firing when it hit the floor, blasting him in the side of the head. The cycle is inevitable.
I was, honestly, I thought the same thing. It's like I'm surprised that gun did not go off when it dropped to the ground. Like maybe just because like I've watched True Lies too many times. Where like the Uzi going down the stairs and just like killing all the bad guys.
It's so dumb and hilarious.
Yeah, I love it.
And then my last note is just, where did the whole knuckle bones reminded me of popcorn go?
What?
Why was that brought up in the first place?
I mean, so knuckle bones do kind of look like if you actually look at what knuckle bones look like, they do kind of look like popcorn.
Visually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I literally like when I googled knuckle bones, like as Mikey was doing his thing about like the game, I saw an image of knuckle bones, and yeah, they basically would look like you can definitely see where like ancient people might have like carved them into like cubes, but you also like look at them like when they're naturally formed, they are basically like they kind of look like popcorn kernels.
Yeah, I really should have just Googled that instead of asking this question.
It's fine. We're learning. Oh,
Indeed, yeah.
We're learning. Oh.
We've got an unnecessary amount of mileage out of the Muppet Christmas Carol with the Marley and Marley bit.
Hey man, it's ghosts. It's creepy. It still works. It still fits for our podcast. So
for sure. Yeah, that's it in my notes until final thoughts.
Okay. Then I suppose we move on to final thoughts. Guys, it was really fun to read. And I like the revenge plot, especially when it sort of switches it around for me. Like when I was reading it, I thought it was going to be Jack seeking revenge, but then it turned out Hilda and her kin and like the people that Jack wronged in life are actually the ones seeking revenge on him and have been for years.
Mm-hmm.
It's not terribly scary, like I kind of also mentioned, but it's still a macabre tale fit for the Halloween season. So honestly, that's why I'm going to recommend it. Is like it was a clean-cut Halloween story, and while it wasn't like terribly scary, it was kind of aesthetically spooky.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give it props for that, and I'm going to recommend it. Mikey, these stands for evil.
As I said previously, I like that we get a story from the monster's perspective. I also liked that this has been going on for many years because even the local kids have the legend of Mr. Bickle.
Yeah, they don't even know what Jack's actual name at this point. Like,
yeah. And then the fact that he's heading towards his final resting place, although depending if this has been happening for a long time, he may just know the route.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to ask anymore.
Yeah, or he may not. He also may just like remember. Like he may not like remember how he knows, but he just like has like muscle memory, despite the fact that he lacks muscle. But like you know what I mean. Like it's a repetitive memory thing. Yeah, because it kind of hits to like why how he knows the route and stuff. So
yeah, and I also liked at the end how he goes to sort of redeem himself by opening the door.
Yeah, and then it's
Um,
taken from him.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, like if you want, if anything, that is the horror of the story, is the personal horror from Jack, or for Jack, like being tormented like being tormented after life, and trying to do the right thing, but then having it snatched away because fuck you got mine by his tormentors. Like that is honestly like what horror stories do, is like that is the spooky, the creepiness of horror stories, is like giving you a glimpse of like this could be better, but then ripping it away from you, or ripping it away from its characters. It's like, no, this is a horror story, it doesn't get happy endings. But sorry, I didn't mean to take over your spot.
That's fine. So overall, I'm still recommending this story.
Okay. And gamer.
For me, it was interesting to see things from the side of the monster for once. Oh, I mean, say for once, it's happened a couple of times, just not very much.
Yeah.
The last time I remember it just off the top of my head, was like Joey Fucknuts.
Joey,
it's sort of the same
Fucknuts.
kind of vibe in a way.
They're both zombies.
Yeah, just
technically.
Well,
yeah.
You say that, Mister. Oh, this isn't a zombie.
I didn't say that. I just like, there is, to me, like personally, there is a distinction between an animated skeleton and an animated flesh corpse.
I agree.
But I mean, they can. I do also acknowledge they can still fit under the same umbrella of a zombie. See what I did there? Umbrella, Resident Evil, zombies.
Nice. There's no skeletons in Resident Evil, but there's zombies, so yeah.
Get fucked.
But yeah. It was a fun read, and going through it makes you sympathize with Jack as he's going through, because he doesn't seem like he's a bad guy or anything, you know.
I mean, he's human. He was a con artist. He was probably a swindler in life, but like he was also a family man. Like he cared about his wife. Probably he was human. He had flaws. And
Yes.
Hilda isn't even necessarily the villain in this. Like Hilda is like just seeking retribution for the wrongs that were done to her and her family. Like they never got that money back because the guy was a coward and killed himself before he could reveal what Swiss bank the money went to.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, it's.
But also at the end of the day,
yeah,
her and her family line are doing a lot better than him.
Well, now, yeah, it's a gray. This story isn't about like black and white. This one's definitely a gray, kind of gray morality.
I don't know.
Like,
in a way, currently living humans are the true monsters of this story.
Yeah, but I mean, from their point of view, they're just seeking retribution for what was taken from them. So, like,
from every villain's point of view, they're the good guy,
and from every hero's point of view, they're not the villain. So,
yeah.
I again, I'm not like this isn't black and white. This is gray, is what I'm saying.
To a point, because like, yeah, Jack messed up. Yeah, he's a criminal. Yeah, he screwed a lot of people, but he's dead. Like, justice is served in that manner. That the dude's dead. Like, he got his just desserts. He isn't hurting anyone anymore.
Except that the way he went out hurt a lot of people still. Because no one got closure on like, and no one got like recompense for the money that he stole in life. Like so him being tormented by one of the families that he wronged, that is just desserts, not his death.
I suppose. Like, yeah, because they didn't necessarily want the guy to die. They just wanted their money back.
Yeah, like I'm sure like if they could go back in time, if they could turn back time, if they could find a way. I don't know why I'm so singy today.
The bard of the group.
That's true. I am the bard cultist. But like I'm sure they would they if they had the chance to go back in time and like have him face justice properly and not go the coward's way. They do it, but they don't obviously have that ritual or that power to do that. So they're just kind of like, you know what? Fuck this guy. Let's just keep tormenting his soul so that he never gets rest. Because like we weren't able to get rest from like all the money that we lost from this asshole. Let's fucking just deal. Let's just make his afterlife a living hell.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I don't mean to fight you on this, but like I do not agree that him killing himself is just desserts. Because
I think the problem is when I was reading through all this, I was almost thinking of it in a way as if he was a murderer or something, for example.
Yeah.
If his whole thing was he killed people, then justice for him would be that he dies.
Yes.
And then that's good enough. But that's not what he did.
No, it was financial crimes that
Yeah.
hurt a lot of people. And and he took the coward's way out to get away from like not serving prison time and not giving people back their money. So like he cared so much about his reputation over the well-being and welfare of other people that he killed himself. And that's not cool. Like that's not justice.
No, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was coming at this from the wrong angle, and yeah, you're totally right there. Regardless, like, that doesn't change my thoughts on the story. The story was still interesting. Still liked it. There's really not too many points where we can poke holes at it.
Yeah.
And like usually the less notes I have, that's usually a sign that I enjoyed it because I was too busy reading to write down things, which is usually the case of how that works.
Yep.
So yeah, overall, I'll still recommend the story. And yeah, there's not really too much I can say to change that, aside from just the start should be clarified that he's actually out of the hole.
That I will agree with. That could be improved. That's the one little bit of room for improvement, I think, for the story. But yeah, wow. Got a good start to Halloween or to the Halloween season, really. It's only downhill from here.
Wow.
Well, no, actually,
better.
Hang on, that's not true because like we did Downpour and we had the Field Lurker, and now this one we're getting close to Halloween night. So I think we might have something a little special for next time for next episode.
Ooh.
Since I think that is coming up for Halloween, so look forward to that.
Stay tuned for that.
Yeah. But for this story and this episode in hand, three full recommendations. Wow, we did it, guys. Good job.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, it's been a while. But that has been this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below, wherever this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, or Tumblr. We're all on Twitter, so you can talk to us there. Mikey is at the E stands for evil. The Gamer in Yellow is at the Gamer in Yellow, but without that W at the very end because his name is too damn long.
It is, but it's a bit. I can't change it now. Nope.
We've gone too far. As we look down the hall to the door. Thanks, Harold and Kumar. And I'm at Review Cultist on Twitter. If you'd like to send us emails, you can go to aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigamortis and select the backer tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show already, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it would be like screaming into the void. And without your stories that you create and share online for other people to read across the internet, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the East Ends are evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well. coffee black, just like my metal. That's totally untrue. I do not like my coffee black.
And you do not like black metal.
Hang on. I do actually like black metal.
Okay.
To a degree. I do prefer power metal, but...
The coffee starts off black.
It does start, yeah, exactly, yeah. And honestly, I do like espresso black. Like, I can drink espresso black, but I like espresso black just like my metal. I wonder if there's got to be Italian black metal out there.
Probably.
I mean, I know, like Scandinavia has like the monopoly on like black metal and death metal, but like, there's got to be Italian black metal. Italian metal can't all be power metal, which is actually a thing. Like, Italy pumps out a lot of power metal bands.
Well, I googled Italian black metal, and I have a list of bands here.
Sweet.
Like Bulldozer since 1986.
Bulldozer.
Necromass.
Mortuary Drape. Monumentum. Abaddon. Kane. Wow. This is not in any way related to the episode we're doing today.
No.
Maybe we should actually start recording.